What up, everybody? It's your boy Chris Roscoe, and this is Operation Moksha. Today, I'm talking about something somebody wrote into me about. We're talking about how to deal with other people's influence and how to not let it take you off course and basically turn you into someone that you don't want to be, right? And this is super common because we all have influences in our lives that are going to try to turn us into something other than what we are. You know, there's the world that wants you to be a certain thing. Like there's certain roles for men to fill in, and there's certain roles for women to fill in. And then your family members might want you to be a little bit different than you are. Maybe your friends even want you to be different than you are. Maybe you're in a relationship, a romantic relationship, where your partner thinks that you should be a little bit different than you are. And you've got all these influences like the media and news and politics and holy fucking shit. There are so many things that would try to tell you who to be. But you know, because you're watching this video, that deep down inside, the only thing that's ever going to make you truly happy and satisfied is by being yourself. So how do you deal with all these fucking multitude of influences that are trying to tell you who to be and how to live? How do you put those into context? How do you stay true to yourself while still being kind to the people in your life? How do you draw healthy boundaries? How do you know when to draw healthy boundaries? How do you know how to do anything in this fucking complex world? It's a very good asked question, so I'm going to talk about it today. And the first thing I want to say is you have to be ruthless, right? Because in order to truly stand in who you are, you have to kind of piss people off at some point. Because there are going to be people that don't want you to be who you want to be. Because, you know, I've talked about this before when I've talked about setting boundaries or growing in relationships or anything like that. But there's the version of you that you've been for God knows however long. And then there's all the people in your life that have grown accustomed to you being that version of yourself. And as you start to shift and change and start to be more honest about who you really are, then what you're gonna do is shift that underlying emotional foundation. And the people that were dependent on that emotional foundation being the way it was are gonna have something to say about you changing. And there's also gonna be people in your life that simply want you to fit into what they need, right? A lot of the times these expectations and these influences aren't really about what is best for you or what this person really even wants. A lot of the times people try to change us because of their unconscious needs, and they try to make us what would make them more comfortable. And so it's kind of a complex issue to try and figure out what's worth being and what's not. That takes some time, being with yourself, being with your thoughts, connecting to who you are, being able to do a gut check to see what feels right and what doesn't, and what paths are worth walking on and which ones aren't. So you may need to spend a little bit of time alone in order to figure out where you stand on certain things and what's worth compromising and what isn't. Because compromise isn't inherently bad, but it's compromising in ways that you don't want to. Like for me anyways, I know it's very common for men to compromise our values for peace of mind, right? If we're working hard and we got shit going on, and there's all these people trying to get us to do different things, a lot of times we'll concede just so the person will shut up and get off our back, whether it's our boss or our friends or our family or our girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be. If there's something constantly pressing at us, a lot of times just to get some peace and quiet, we'll compromise our values and our sense of self in order just to get some alone time. And in the short term, you know, that works because the peace and quiet that you get from making those little compromises could be better spent in reallocating your resources and reconnecting to yourself. But at the same time, if you're making compromises like that, you're probably not truly connected to your sense of self, and that makes you less likely to actually use your peace time in any kind of beneficial way. You know, a lot of times what ends up happening is we get burned out in the world, and then when we have our peace time, we end up using that checking out, you know, either watching TV or fucking masturbating or playing video games or just smoking weed and drinking so we don't have to think thoughts and feel feelings. And that's not actually recharging. So what ends up happening is when you make these little compromises, they slowly eat away at you. And then you're not spending your time resourcing yourself and recharging. So even your recharge time ends up draining you even more. And so you just end up being on this downhill slide that you don't even know that you're on because you just think you're doing what you got to do to get by. But actually what ends up happening is it slowly chips away at your sense of self. And a job can do this, family can do this, relationships can do this, politics, movies, TV, music, whatever your influences are. If you're getting the message that you need to change, or that something is demanding your change, or demanding you change, and if that pressure is real enough, it can start to slowly chip away at you. And the danger is that we don't often know that we're losing our sense of self until it's gone. Until one day you look around and you don't know who the fuck you are anymore. You don't know how it got that bad. You don't know who you are. You don't recognize yourself in the mirror. Your life doesn't make any sense. Your body even looks different to you. And so a lot of the times we don't catch this stuff until it's way too late. So that's what I'm telling you right now, is to get fucking ruthless about your boundaries. And when I say ruthless, I don't mean mean. I just mean so solid and so firm in who you are and what your boundaries are that you are unfucking shakeable, right? Because you have to consider, like, if you're being ruthless in pursuit of your boundaries, the only people you'll ever actually have to be that forceful with are people that don't respect them. So it's like, if you're going to be ruthless towards people that don't respect your boundaries, then they've got it coming. But if it's people that do respect your boundaries, it never has to get there. But you have that in your back pocket. Is like, if they do press, then, like, you know, you can turn up the intensity a little bit and be like, look, no, I said I need time to myself, or I said I need to go to the gym, or I said I need to be creative, or whatever it may be, and you go about it and do it your own way. Now, when it comes to ruthlessness, it can also seem, what's the word? Inconsiderate and insensitive and mean. And that's one of the number one things that gets people to give up their boundaries, is this fear of being mean, or this fear of being a bad person, or being inconsiderate or selfish, or all these things. Like, we have all this stuff built up in our heads as this bad thing, where it's like, if I'm selfish and I hurt someone else because I'm selfish, then that makes me a bad person. And I can't live with being a bad person in my own mind. And so I have to compromise all these things that actually really matter to me, just so I can uphold this image of being a good person. Which on its face, on the surface, looks and sounds really, really good, right? It sounds moral. It sounds self-sacrificing. And in this, like, you know, try as we might, you know, a lot of us are still impacted by this religious way of looking at things that says self-sacrifice is like a really high virtue and all that type of shit. But anybody who's ever actually lived a truly self-sacrificing life, in an imbalanced kind of way, will tell you that it's actually not virtuous, because what ends up happening is the version of you that could take care of the people around you, and the version of you that could provide for them and nurture them and care for them and all that type of stuff, when your boundaries get chipped away, so does your ability to actually truly be there for someone. Because maybe you'll recognize this, maybe you'll resonate with this, maybe not, I'm not sure. But something I started to notice was when I don't feel like I truly have time for myself, and I sacrifice my self-care time, or the time where I would have, you know, played my drums or hung out with a friend or gone on a date or whatever it may be. When I truly sacrifice the things that matter for me in order to help someone, I'm not actually present. I'm kind of like trying to be there for them, and I'm trying to care, but at least part of my mind is dedicated to thinking about how much I'm not doing what I really want to be doing. And so setting these boundaries is actually one of the best things that you can do for the people around you. Because first of all, it'll show them that when you do show up for them and care for them and do what you want, it's because you truly want to. And so this idea that, like, oh no, you're just doing this to be nice. Like, I don't want to put you out. I don't want to be a burden. Like, people know when they're being a burden. And when you let people burden you, you don't really help them, because you're helping them from this place of you're a burden. And you will communicate that, because when someone is sensitive to that, they'll be able to pick up on it, because they're constantly looking for ways to prove to themselves that they are a burden. And so when they see that, like, labored look in your eye, when, like, they're either not getting it soon enough or whatever it may be, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to see that you see them as a burden. And then whatever help you think you did, whatever good you think you did for this person, goes right out the fucking window, because they just end up feeling guilty. And you've likely been on both sides of this, so you know what the fuck I'm talking about. So to be perfectly honest, the best thing you can even do for the people in your life is set really healthy boundaries. Like my door that won't close. I'm going to go close this real quick. There we go. That is a stronger boundary. I locked it, so now it will stay closed. So anyways, yeah, you want to make sure that you keep your boundaries strong, because that's what keeps you resourced. And when you're resourced and you actually care for the people in your life, you can care for them well, and you can be present, and they can know that you actually want to be there, and you're doing it because it's what feels good to you in the moment, and because they matter to you. And that alone is enough to really help somebody. Like, if somebody truly needs your attention, the fact that you want to listen and the fact that you care, a lot of times is more important than any advice you'd give. So your presence and your attention is really what matters. And if you're being careless with your boundaries, you're being careless with your attention, and anybody in your life is going to know that. So that brings on the second thing, is when you're truly, ruthless with your boundaries, you have to be very careful about who you want to give your time to, right? Because there's going to be some people that just drain you, right? Like, there's people that are gonna just want to take. And when you get clear on your boundaries, you get clear on who the takers are and who the people that actually value the contributions that you bring to their lives are, and the people that want to give back, and the people who the people who make you giving to them worth it, right? And you learn to distinguish these two, and it's important to distinguish these two. And it can be difficult to do that because a lot of times we want to feel needed. And the takers can often make us feel needed because they constantly need something from us. But that's, again, where you have to really take your own boundaries into consideration. It's like, does helping this person do anything for me? And that may seem like a selfish dickhead thing to think, but at the end of the day, if you give to people that aren't worth it, if you give to people that you don't feel good about giving, it's just going to diminish the quality of care you can give to the people you actually do want to spend time with. And so, if for whatever reason you find it difficult to do these things for your own sake, then do it for the sake of the people that you truly do care about. Get absolutely fucking ruthless about these things, because the world will constantly try to change you. The world will constantly try to make you compromise and turn you into something that you don't want to be. It's why there's so few truly authentic people. We tend to deify people that are so truly themselves. We treat it like it's this super special thing that's so rare, and it's because it fucking is. It's because a lot of people will hide from that. They'll withdraw into the safety of conformity and blend in with everyone else. And so when you get someone who truly sets their boundaries and truly stands up for what they need and what they want, we treat it as rare because it fucking is. And the people that will support you in being that and in rising and maintaining that can also be kind of rare. So you may actually end up needing to cut ties with people. And again, that's for the betterment of you and for everyone around you. Because those people that don't respect your boundaries probably aren't people you want to be spending time with in the first place. So you have to really think about these type of things. And as far as actually feeling bad, like, it's just a feeling. Like, feeling bad because you stood up for what you needed to stand up for and you set a boundary that was authentic to you. If you feel bad because you did that, then you can trust that your "I'm a bad person" gauge is all fucked up, and it's going to need some recalibrating. And the way to recalibrate that is to get comfortable feeling like a bad person and learn the difference between feeling bad and doing something that truly goes against your values. And when you can learn the difference between feeling bad and engaging in some kind of behavior that goes against your values, then you can start to steer yourself a little bit clearer. And you can start to understand which boundaries are worth holding and which ones aren't. Because like, you could have boundaries that are just based in you being stubborn, or you wanting to withhold love, or you being afraid to step into a role. Not all boundaries are inherently good. But when you get comfortable feeling bad, quote unquote, then you get to be able to start to tell the difference. And it's really important to be able to do that. So the main question here was, what do you do about all the outside influences that try to change you from being who you want to be? First, you need to really get a strong sense of self, and that may require a little bit of isolation. That may require a little bit of like not talking to people. It's going to require definitely solitude. So at least meditation, or at least journaling, or at least going on walks by yourself. Because the only way to truly connect to yourself is to be with yourself, or be around other people that are so themselves that they can help you tell when you're being true to yourself and when you're not. And not all of us have the luxury of having friends like that yet. We can all have it, but not all of us do. So when you spend time with yourself and you think your own thoughts, you become very clear about what your boundaries are. And when you hold them, you're doing that for the betterment of yourself and for everyone around you, because you'll be your best self. You'll be strong. You'll give better advice. You'll give better attention. You'll give better love. You'll be a better person. You'll be better at work. You'll be better creatively. You'll be better at fucking everything if you stay true to who you are. And know, like ahead of time, know that the world will try to change you. Know that the world will try to make you compromise. And fucking figure out what is worth dying for, what is worth fighting for, and what you will not budge on. Because anybody who lives truly in line with their values knows what it's like to have to fight for that. And once you have it, you won't give it up easily. And it's important to be able to let people get angry with you and let people leave and let people fight and let people do whatever they need to do in response to you holding your boundaries, because people will do all kinds of crazy shit. And the hardest thing for a lot of people is letting people flip out and facing the idea that you might have to be lonely for a little bit as a consequence of staying true to who you are. And if you can do that, then the whole world is yours. If you can face being alone because you said and did what you thought was right, there's nothing in this world that can stop you. So I'm going to be teaching a class at the end of next month that's going to help you do this. I'm going to help you figure out what's important to you, why it's important to you, and then I'm going to help you integrate all the emotions that could get in the way of you actually living this way in a sustainable basis. And we're going to have a group of people that's going through the process with you to reinforce all this learning, and so you can see it from all these different angles. So if you want in on the course, as far as coaching courses go, it's crazy cheap. People tend to charge way more than I'm charging. I think I'm paying like 3 to 4 times for my coach what I'm charging for my course. So if you think you can't afford it, you probably can. If you want to get in on it, if you want to get strong, if you want to connect to your values, if you want to be unfucking shakeable, then hit me up about getting into this course. It's going to be dope. I love you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.